Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining this second edition of the DevJam conference. And today I'm going to talk about sort of like a sensitive topic for a lot of us. So hi, my name is Wissam and I'm an alcoholic. I'm a consultant. For some reason it feels like, hi, I'm a consultant, like one of those AA meetings or something like that. Okay, show of hands. Who's a consultant here? Please raise your hand. If you're online, just type the word con. If you're not a consultant, please raise your hand.
If you're not.
I see some people who didn't raise their hand. If you need a job, talk to one of the recruiters. Anyway, enough of the jokes. So I think a lot of you, I see majority of consultants here. You're probably going to identify with a lot of stuff that I'm going to be talking about today. If you're not a consultant, or if you're just starting out, you're getting your feet wet in the field, and you probably have one client, two clients already, I hope you will get some value, derive some value from this talk, because I'm going to be sharing with you some insights into what it feels to me to be a consultant, and all the accumulated experience that I had over the past few years. I'd like to share that with you so that if you're new, at least you know what it means to be a consultant. You have an idea, and then you can make conscious decisions into you want to keep going in this direction or not, and what you can actually get out of it in terms of benefits. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So Allow me to introduce myself once more. So my name is Wissam Khaouid. I've been in the industry for about 10 years, the tech industry. Almost half of it was consulting. Okay. Currently, I work as a tribe lead at SciTech. It's an internal position. I bet most of you never heard of the word tribe lead before. It just means that I do some coaching internally. We help to promote the engineering culture within the company, which is a challenge. And you also work a little bit with sales and with clients, doing some business things as well. I've been with SciTech for 4 years. It was since I moved here to the Netherlands, I've been working with the same company with SciTech. I've worked with multiple clients. Some of them you might recognize. I've worked with eBay, Marketplace, same as Val here. We were colleagues for a bit. Currently, I work as a lead developer at KLM in the innovation department. And my job is to, along with my team to, see new initiatives in technology and see how we can apply those into the business. Okay? So when I'm not doing consulting, I love to hang out with my boys. I have 2 boys. I love to play soccer. And I like to travel as well. So I think like most of you. About SciTech, a little plug. Okay, so SciTech organized this conference for us. Super grateful to be here talking to you today. We've been around since 2008. Okay, and we are based mostly in the Netherlands, but we also have an office in Barcelona. And we work with a variety of clients in the Netherlands mostly again. Different industries. You can look up the portfolio, but yeah, that's and we're a consultancy. So if you're interested in being a consultant, reach out. So how did I get into consultancy in the first place? So that was about 5 years ago. And like most beautiful things in life, it was by accident. So I was looking to move to the Netherlands actually, and I reached out to an old pal of mine. He's not anymore with the company anymore, but he's a recruiter, and I was like, hey, do you have any opportunities for me? And he's like, I have this opportunity here with SciTech. And I was like, okay, good, let's look into it. And then when I joined the company, he said, okay, we work with clients here and there, and I thought it was just, I'm just gonna go in and he's gonna give me some role, and then I'm just gonna jump into it. So to me, it felt like consulting is a full-time job times number of clients. So I can just do my full-time little gig at different clients, which most people think consulting is. You just think that consultancy has many clients, and you're going to go and be a full-time employee in in one of them, right? Or, which speaking with a lot of you, being a tribe lead here at SciTech, we help coach a lot of consultants. I get the opportunity to talk to a lot of consultants, and what they tell me is that, okay, I'm either like the wolf from the Pulp Fiction, who comes and fixes problems all of a sudden, or I'm going to be just another employee. Okay, so the purpose of this talk is to give you an idea that this is not completely true, and also the other side is not completely true. So I'm going to confuse you even more with this talk, but this is my experience. So disclaimers, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about 100%. This field is not set in stone. Consultancy is not set in stone. You're not getting trained to be a doctor. You're not being trained to be a pilot. There's no 100%, training for everybody, okay? People have different opinions, so what might work for me as a consultant might not work for you. So please don't use what I say against me. Don't think that 100% what I say is true 100% of the time. So use it as inspiration, okay? This is the goal of today, give you some inspiration. And it's all about mindset. Like I said, this profession, there's no training. So the way you think, the way your beliefs are going to shape the way you interact with your clients. It's going to shape your success or failure. It's going to shape your actions. It's going to define you, the way you think. Okay? So it's all about mindset. This is what I mean here. And it's also, there's a lot of contradictions. So you're going to hear me saying that you're an employee, but at the same time, you're not an employee. Or you should be emotionally independent, or you should be part of the client culture. I'm going to give you a lot of ideas that contradict themselves, but part of being a consultant is like embracing those contradictions. You understand? So it's not black and white always. So what is a consultant? It took me some time to learn. If you go to Wikipedia, this is the standard definition: is somebody who gives advice, I can pronounce that, in an area of specialization. Okay, so it's a huge area. Being a consultant, it's an industry. It's a big pie, if you will. Today, I'm going to be focusing on one slice of the pie. The developer consultant. Okay, it's developer/consultant. Okay, and I'm not saying this. The lessons I'm going to be sharing with you today does not mean like it doesn't apply for you if you're like let's say a product owner consultant or a DevOps person consultant. No, I'm just saying this is my experience. I was a developer before and I became a consultant. This is my journey, okay? These lessons is what I learned. And generally when you join a consultancy, if you don't, if you want to be a consultant, generally you join a consultancy. The consultancy has a set of clients they work with regularly. And usually when you join a consultancy, they give you an assignment. Okay, and you're sent to work with your client, etc., and manage that relationship. You can also work as a consultant independent. I've done that in the past very briefly, but bigger clients, bigger companies, they prefer working with stable providers, like consultancies that will give them people to work with. Clear so far?
Yeah.
Cool. So when companies are hiring for a consultant, let's say consultancy is hiring for people to be consultants, or a company is looking for consultants, there is a job description, but there's also no job description. Okay, this is contradiction what I'm talking about. So job description is like we're looking for a person who does X, Y, and Z. Okay, but you have to look at it as a consultant. If you look at the job description and you think that this is all I'm going to be doing, then you're going to be disappointed. Let that sink in for a second. Because we're looking for a person who does, I don't know. Tom, what do you do at work? Like what stack do you use?
Web components.
Web components. Okay, we're looking for someone who does web components, knows a little bit of Kotlin, and he knows a little bit of DevOps, right? And then you have this long thing. It's handed over to the consultancy. The consultancy is looking for a match within the consultancy, and they give the project to a person. Generally, the person who wrote the job description in the first place have no idea what they're talking about. Happens a lot, And it's generally written by people who know nothing about technology. Ends up and then we have to convert it, and then we have to give it find the right person who's going to do the job. So that's one thing. The second thing is, when you go work with a client, and I hope I'm going to be explaining this further in this talk, when you go work with the client, you expect it to do way more than that. You expect it to be the wolf from Pulp Fiction. Come in and clean up the shit. You understand? So, but it doesn't have to be that bad. Like, there's a lot of opportunities in that if you look at it the right way. Okay? And they write at the end of the description, we're looking for people with a can-do attitude or whatever it takes attitude. One of those things is like you have to be ignoring the top, ignore the above. You should have the ability to ignore the job description and just run with the assignment. Okay? You're also hired to have an outsider perspective. People who work for a company for a long time, they're used to doing things in a certain way, and they're looking for somebody who's coming from the outside to give them a new, fresh perspective. Okay? So just remember that. Okay? If you just come in with your old, it's like, okay, I'm going to just be part of the company, I'm going to be a full-time employee. You're not bringing anything new. Okay? And you being a consultant, you have the leverage to just say, take care, I'm going to go work with another client. You have the ability to fire them if you want to. Okay? Just food for thought. Okay? And of course, when you're working as a consultant, you're working with a lot of clients, and that brings a lot of opportunities in terms of learning. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster here. First impressions matter. So when you start a relationship with a client as a consultant, you are responsible for setting the tone of the relationship. Okay? Like any other, like a romantic relationship as well. It's like being on a first date with somebody, right? You have to set the tone. If you don't set the tone, then the other person is going to make assumptions. That's how we are as human beings, right? They're going to put you in a box. And sometimes you're going to be put in a box that you don't want to be put in. Okay? So we know this bias. It's called the first impression bias. Make sure you set the tone. I'm going to tell you how to set up the tone as we go in this presentation. So you just keep your eyes peeled for this one. The other advice that I would say in terms of setting impressions is to be social. And a lot of us are like, oh wow, social. Like I'm not an extrovert. I don't want to be outgoing all the time. That's not what I mean. The word social comes from the word what? Society, right? It's a lot of individuals. Every individual is contributing in a way to the society, right? So when you join, being social is to try to integrate yourself into the culture, of the company. Try to shake hands with people. You don't have to chat. You don't have to invite them to drinks all the time. You don't have to do that. You just have to identify who's doing what, right? What teams are doing. What everybody's doing in their own team. What makes them, tick. What makes them, try to learn more about your clients. Get out to knowing them more than putting out energy, being outgoing. Okay, I just wanted to make you aware of that. Social does not equal outgoing. Okay? And you have to be customer focused. So who knows what customer service is?
That's also a weird term. It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things, right? Customer service, if you look at the definition, is the support you give to your clients before, during, and after a purchase. Customer service is like when you go to the guy across the street, like the barber. Hey man, I wanna get a haircut. $60. Too much, take care. One of them, good customer service, will be like, okay, thank you for coming. And the other will screw you, get out of here. Right? That's part of the customer service. Another part of the customer service is when you get in your haircut, he's engaging you or she's engaging you and you're having a good experience. And there's a third part of it after the purchase. Okay? You want to keep them happy. You want to keep them coming back for more. Okay? That's customer service. Think about that. And here I'm saying oversell yourself. You have to learn to sell yourself. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about the, how do you call that? Imposter syndrome. You guys know what imposter syndrome is? Everybody has it. Everybody who's lived on this planet as a professional who cares about the profession has some healthy level of get over it. Okay? Sell yourself as much. Everybody's doing it. Just be aware of it. Keep it, let it there hanging on the side. And always be selling yourself. There are ways, skills that you can learn to sell yourself. Again, I can't tell you how to sell yourself in this presentation because it's going to be too damn long. Okay? But I'm giving you pointers here. So one mindset, this is a tip for you guys, for everyone here, that helped me a lot, is to start looking at yourself not as an employee, but as a one-person business. When you start looking at yourself as a business, these things start clicking in your head. Think about the first brand that you love. I don't know, Apple. And you start thinking, beautiful customer service, beautiful experience, beautiful this, beautiful that. This is how they treat their clients. Think of yourself as that. Okay? Again, it's mindset. And there's a really important thing that a lot of people are talking about these days is boundaries. Okay, boundaries this, boundary that. Boundaries is just like what you're willing to accept, things you're willing to accept, things you're not willing to accept. Okay? If you're the guy who's reachable after business hours, then you're the guy who's reachable for business after business hours. It could go as deep as that. It can go as deep as, I don't want to be bothered when I'm having lunch. This is the time that I recharge. Okay? I don't want to be bothered during these times. I block them in my calendar. Nobody talks to me. I'm not checking my Slack messages. I'm not checking anything. And when I say boundaries, the sooner you set them, the better. It's like, just also think about like relationships, right? Even romantic relationships. The sooner you set something, the better it is, right? Because people, when they start getting used to a behavior, it's very difficult to get them out of it. Okay? It applies also with clients. Clients are also people. Okay, just remember that. I work with KLM, but I'm not working with the logo. I'm working with a set of people. You just remember that, okay? Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying here. This is the mindset. Protect your energy. Being a consultant is very, very demanding. If you want to do it right, it's very demanding. You have to do this and that and this and that. Think of yourself a business, all this crap stuck in your head. But in order to do that, you have to have energy, right? And if you're checking your Slack all the time, and you're getting bugged with this, and you're doing this, and you're doing that, and you're letting all these external factors affect you, that's how you set boundaries, protect your energy so you can perform, because ultimately it's your responsibility. At the end of the day, nobody's going to care, okay, why didn't you perform? Well, because I was being pulled into meetings here and there. Nobody's going to care. It's your responsibility to protect your energy. Okay? Okay, the expert frame. You're being hired to be an expert in your field. Okay? Being an expert, being perceived as an expert is really important because it builds credibility and reputation. These are the most two important. If you talk to anybody in business, these are two of the most important, valuable things as a business for your sellability is to have reputation and to have, credibility in what you say. I've talked to, let's give you some examples here. A lot of the way that some of the successful consultants that I know that do this is from the first week or whatever, you start, having conversation with people about your expertise. You start setting the tone. This is what I know. I'm really good at it. You don't have to say that, but you have to convey it. The way you convey your things in a subliminal way is by telling stories. Okay? Dropping hints in there, here and there. Okay? So that's why, and it goes to join the first point about first impressions. Okay? In terms of being an expert, you want to learn to talk like an expert. This is what I mean by packaging your information. When you provide information to somebody, know who you're talking to, know who your audience is. If you're talking to a C-level manager, it's not the same way you should be talking with your teammate. Okay, if you're a developer, for example. So learn how to package your information. Learn to make use of language. We're humans. Okay, language is super important. The way you talk about a topic is really important, is more important sometimes than the topic. Okay? I talked about imposter syndrome earlier. If you spend some time, you have really good experience with some sort of technology or something like that, just trust yourself. Learn to build trust in yourself. Nobody is an expert in anything. Whoever tells you I'm an expert at something is lying to you to a certain degree. Okay? And always be prepared. And what I mean by that is, I see, I hire consultants and I work with consultants. I am a consultant and give you this perspective here. Always be prepared goes into everything. Let's say you're going into a meeting, like a whatever meeting you're going to. Have an idea of what you want to achieve from the meeting. Okay? Have an objective. Have a plan in your head. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to pull an example from my head right now. Let's say you're talking to a good buddy of yours, right? Like you're a bunch of people, and let's say you don't know what to do in the next half an hour, and then one raise your hand is like, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna go to the bar, we're gonna have some drinks, and then we're gonna have dinner, and then we're gonna do this. It's a plan. It's better than, well, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen in the next half hour. Who are you gonna listen to? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a perfect plan, but always be prepared. Have an idea of what you want to achieve because it projects leadership. Okay, and that's what people are looking for in terms of experts. And so the mindset is, I'm sorry, I couldn't just think of an expert, like somebody who's really good at what they do, and try to mimic them. Okay, that's what I mean by act like an expert. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through this one really fast. Most of us are in technology here, and we're tech consultants, developer consultants, etc. But tech comes as a second-class citizen in consultancy. I'm sorry to say that. Let me explain why. So you're first a consultant, and then you're a developer, then you're a technical expert. How? Let me give you an example of somebody who used to work for us about 2 years ago. Really brilliant guy, really brilliant front-end developer. Amazing. I wouldn't get to his inch of his feet in terms of how, high, sorry, you know what I mean. I'm not as good as him technically. And he's really good, he's amazing. But every time he goes to a client, he's like, oh yeah, I built this thing, and I built this thing, and I want to build this thing, but they don't want to let me build it. And then you go talk to the client, and they're like, this guy has attitude problems. Let me explain. When you go work with a client, you don't have to always, as soon as you start, throw solutions at them. First, learn to listen to the client, learn to listen what the problem is, and then see what solutions they have in place, and then propose your solutions. Does that make sense? Think of yourself even, let's say you're building bikes. Let's say you have your business building bikes, right? So you build bikes a certain way, blah, 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 and then it's done. You sell it to clients. Some clients are happy with it. Some clients are not happy with it. Let's say somebody comes in and the way you did this sucks. You should be doing it better. You know what? I'm going to build it for you. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to give you also this piece, how to do it. I'm going to give you this tool, how to do it. Are you going to be happy? Maybe. If you're really, Zen, enlightened person. But if you're a normal person like us, you're like, fuck it, get out of here. I'm used to doing things the way I do them. Second thing about, technology being a second-class citizen is, and I think a lot of you are going to be identified with this because, a lot of us are senior, professionals. Technology in and of itself is not the end. It's just a tool. Okay? So when you're trying to solve problems for clients, technology is not the ultimate goal. Make sure that there's a lot of problems that can be solved just by talking to people, looking at what's already existing. Does that make sense? So you don't have to look always the technology as the first answer. Okay? I think we have technical problems with the slide, but I'm just going to keep going.
Second class citizen.
That's okay. Is it going? It's just for you guys to follow.
Interview.
Yeah.
We'll manage to fix it.
That's no problem. Okay, I think the last point that I had, so we were talking about, yes, so I was going to say the last lesson that I learned is that consultancy is not for everybody. It's okay. A lot of what I described today comes to you as a person. You're the one who's going to be implementing these things. Okay? So these are some of the things or assets that I believe you should have in you that will guarantee you that will determine whether you succeed or fail in this profession. One is comfort with change, like comfort versus change. Are you somebody who gets triggered and stretched too much when just there is a small change? And when I'm talking about change, I'm talking about change of clients, change of teams, change of projects, change of schedule. You know, things can change really quickly. Okay? So look at yourself. Are you someone who's comfortable with change? If you're not, then I'm not saying that you cannot be a good consultant. I'm just saying you're going to have some friction inside of you that's going to make things a little bit more difficult. The second thing is, when you're working as a consultant and you're working part of a consultancy, most of the time you're going to be required to do some extra work for the consultancy. You're going to have to write some, documents. You're going to fill up some, subsidy documents. You're going to help coach others, etc. So there's going to be a lot of context switch in there. So be aware of that when you want to become a consultant, because if you're not very comfortable with context switching, then you're going to suffer. Okay? There are ways you can train yourself to improve on that, but just throwing it out there. The other thing is, when you're working as a consultant at a client, you are expected to project this, like you're the expert. You know what I mean? What I was talking about earlier. So that's going to isolate you a little bit. Not a lot of people identify with that frame, and you're also not expected to just be part of everybody else in that sense. So you should be able, in yourself, you should be kind of like independent. You have to have like an independent tendency to be successful here. And it's going to push you even further. And the last point for me here is about work-life balance as a consultant. So I'm happy to say that, for example, since I started working with SciTech, I've rarely had to work weekends or over hours or after hours. But somebody said that work-life balance is makes sense. It's means something different for different people. So for some people, it's not having to work 12 hours a day is a good work-life balance. Or, you're going to be required sometimes to do extra work, but not always, depending on the consultancy that you're working for, the type of clients that you're working for. You could be called in during the weekend to, help put out fires. Just be aware of that. Okay? And I'm going to put a little plug here for SciTech and how we help you tackle these things as a consultant. So we're very selective about the projects that we work on, the clients that we work with, in terms of, do they provide work-life balance? Do they allow people to, express themselves as consultants? Can they make decisions when working, etc.? If they're good working conditions and so forth. We do customized matching, so we don't tell you, okay, you have to go work for this client. Okay, so we offer you options, and it's up to you to determine. But again, it's up to you to choose what type of projects you want to work on. Does that make sense? There's something that's been started very recently within the company, and this is how the new structure that we had here, having these tribe leads and chapter leads and so forth, is that to mitigate that problem about loneliness, because in most cases you're alone at the clients. So what we do is like we try to build an engineering culture within the consultancy, so you have a base to come back to. Okay, in terms of questions, for example, technical issues, emotional support, physical support, social support, etc. And something else that we're working on is having complete teams at the clients. Okay, that will help a little bit with the community aspect, and we also insist on the work-life balance aspect. So I don't think any of us here, for the SciTech people, has to work consistently over hours every single day. Can happen. Again, it's part of the job, but it's not very consistent. So we're very, meticulous in making sure that, the contracts that we sign with our clients don't involve long hours or extra, work. Okay? So I think, So looking at this, I want you to invite you to relook at this again. Consultancy is not, this is for people who are not technical here. This just means does not equal full-time times the number of employees. So conclusions. These are the lessons that we talked about today. You can have a look. Feel free to ask questions and check out SciTech if you don't have a job or if you want to be a consultant. Thanks, guys.